Hey, what's up, guys? It's John Nitty1. I'm going to do another discussion topic video today. And today we're going to be talking about pricing of games. Now, I was talking to my buddy Forslack on Skype, not too long ago, like 30 minutes ago. And he was like, John, you're always playing all these old games. And I was like, yeah, that's because new games are too expensive for me. Now, I was thinking, like, really, I'm pretty much missing out on a generation of, I'm in high school, these are the games that I should be playing with my friends, and everybody's playing them right now, but I'm sticking to older games, like, but I thought of the amount of games I got for the same price. I got 5 excellent PlayStation games for $55, and a brand new retail game, $60, plus tax, add that, yada, 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 and it's a little more, but the question right now, I'm going to have a couple questions in this, is would you rather pay $60 for a current gen game or split the cost between a bunch of older games? And now, I think they all have their pros and cons. For one big pro for me is I love collecting games. I absolutely love it. And having the numbers means a lot to me. I mean, even though I'm not necessarily the one guy that just, throws the game like on the shelf and just leaves it there, and never plays them. I'm not like that. I like to play my games and enjoy them. I mean, having basically all these games archived for me to play eventually is awesome, and the display's sweet. But personally, I don't own any games for the sake of owning them. I play all my games, or I get to them eventually. Another pro to it is, a lot of these amazing games from back in the day that were really popular, like Tekken 3, you can still pick up. Like, I got this game for $2 before shipping. Like, that's sweet. Tenchu, another like $1 before shipping. Omega Boost, $5. This wasn't a popular game. It was a big bust. It was mentioned in a song by FL65. The guys that did that on Blue Da Ba Die song. They mentioned this in a song called My Console. It didn't do that well. Very underrated game on the system. Didn't get good reviews. And I think the people that were attracted to the game went based solely on the cover art. You look at that. That cover art. That is absolutely awesome cover art. And, a lot of people didn't like the game. They thought it was dizzying, yada, yada, yada. But, yeah, this is a sweet game and so forth. $5. And, these games are fairly rare. I got lucky on them. I got this for $13 before shipping, and this for like $20 ship, but that's a different story. The first question is, and then the con to that is, I already mentioned the first question. What the hell am I talking about? The cons are, these are games that are fairly dated, so even if you remember them being great when you were younger or doing so well back in the day, they don't really play as smoothly as they don't feel as smooth as they were back then. A good example would be is if you're playing a lot of 3D fighting games. You play Mace the Dark Age for 64 back when it first released, and that was like, oh my god, this is the smoothest looking 3D fighting game I've ever seen. Now you play it now and it's all clunky. That's a great example. Or especially the NES games, NES RPGs. It's so hard to play something that simple, but yet back when you were, I wasn't alive during the time, but back when you were like that age, it seemed like it was just absolutely awesome, and that was the most complex thing you've ever seen. And and you're kind of behind in gaming, but something really good about getting current gen games is you can get games while they're still at a decent price. When the future holds, you never know. For example, Final Fantasy VII, I never thought in a million years before the Advent Children movie that game would be $60. I thought it was gonna be $10 forever. It was a very popular game, and there's almost 10 million copies floating around. Yet it's expensive, and that's a big con. So that's the first question. The next question is totally unrelated to prices. Now this part of the discussion topic is going to be about the way we shop for games today versus the way we used to. And today, and I think this goes back to gaming prices because it's too risky to take a game on $60. Is you'd always read every single review you find. Game Informer, 1UP, GameSpot, IGN, Nintendo Power. You'd always read all those reviews before you buy a game. Back then, you just look at the cover. You're like, for example, like Omega Boost, as I mentioned earlier. You look at it, you're like, oh man, this guy's got a huge gun. You know, this guy, you know, it's a cool mech. I like mechs. Omega Boost, it sounds cool, a cool name, you know. And then you look at the back and you're like, oh geez, maybe I created Gran Turismo, and oh look, these graphics look absolutely amazing. You know, back then it did at least. You know, it was like, oh man, replay mode and all this nonsense. You know, back then, like, games, I think these were, if I'm not mistaken, PlayStation games retailed at, I don't know, $40 to $50. And $40 is a lot more economical, especially in this economic crisis. At that time, you know, the economy was a lot better. But then, you know, greatest hits games were $20 as opposed to $30 now. And the non-greatest hits $60 when they first come out. But anyway, when you look at that, you know, you get a lot of games that you wouldn't have expected. You know, you'd have never heard of a game like Omega Boost, pick it up and love it, or you could have read the reviews and not like it, because this game got not that great reviews. You know, it's like around, I got rated like a 6 point something on IGN and a 6 point something on GameSpot. Yeah, this is an awesome game. This is one of my favorite action games on the PlayStation. So yeah, that's the next thing. Is like, do you think that the press is basically plays too much of a role in what games we buy? And then now for the third one, which is related to, you know, whether these current gen games hold up as well as these older games do. Now, take a game like, you know, I don't have it with me, but I was just playing Final Fantasy VI for the Super Nintendo. Final Fantasy III is still in America. Now, when you look at that, you know, time can't bury that game, and it's been proven. You know, people keep on coming back and back and back to these games. But you play a game, let's say, like a newer RPG, you know, like, for example, Xenosaga, or one of those 100-hour RPGs, chances are you're not going to play them again anytime soon, because, you know, you've invested all that time and you're like, alright, I'm done, I'm ready for the next game. I don't want to do this again. I mean, well, at least for me personally. And also, you know, I think that there's something about the 16-bit era that just makes me want to keep on going back to it. I don't know, especially, I just don't know. There's just the whole thing about it. But, you know, another game I really like, Metal Gear Solid 4, even though, you know, in Skypod was like, oh, it didn't really deserve a perfect rating and whatever. You know, I see, you know, I've beaten that game twice only, and considering how short it is, it's not that much. So, and in the time I've owned that, I've beaten, you know, I've beaten the other Metal Gear Solid games countless times, but, you know, and another example is Little Big Planet. I played that game for 20 hours or 40 hours or something like that and never touched it again. But I mean, it's not a bad game. It's an excellent game. I like the game, but it's just not holding my interest as much as, let's say, Tekken 3. You know, I played this back in the day. I loved it. Played it a couple years later. Loved it. Still play it now. Love it. You know, I mean, these are games you just never get tired of. At least for me. So the three questions are: number one, would you rather pay $60 for one retail game, or split it amongst, you know, a bunch of older games? Or would you rather? And then second question is the press playing too much of a role in what the games you buy? And the third question is, oh my god, I can't talk. It's getting late. But do you think the older games hold up better than the newer games? And the last part, I'm just going to say, how much do you think games should cost at retail price? I forgot to mention it. I think $40, especially in this economic times.